Hello and welcome to the Stem Cell Healing Institute podcast. In case you have any questions, please send us an email to info@stemcellhealinginstitute.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Stem Cell Healing Institute podcast. We are here once again with Dr. Zahra Figueredo. She is the research and technical director of the institute. How are you, doctor?
I'm very well, Luis. Thank you so much. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank
Good.
you for asking. We do have an interesting topic because you always mention the comprehensive approach that you always do to all your patients. Why is it so important to have this comprehensive approach to all your patients, doctor?
It's really important. It's very, very close to my heart. The way that we practice at our clinic. It's really important to remember that our body works as a whole, not just separate systems. Okay? So when there's a disease condition, it's not just one part of the body that's affected. A disease condition arises because the whole body is affected in one way or another, and it's sort of a domino effect. So it's really important that we remember that our body it works as one complete system and not separate systems. Okay, and because of that, we address any condition and with our stem cell treatments as a whole comprehensive approach. And we'll touch on the different ways that we do this. And I know that's going to be your next question.
Yeah, because I noticed that every time you have a patient, you always ask about what is the sleeping routine and the lifestyle or exercise. Why is that so important in the case of a stem cell treatment?
Yes. So in screening a patient in order to deduce candidacy and to be able to address, again, the patient as a whole, as opposed to just a disease condition, we'll do a very thorough history and blood work and so on. Now, going back to the history, why it's important for me to know details such as how you sleep, what time do you go to sleep, what do you eat, what time do you eat, when's your last meal, um, um, how do you eliminate, what allergies do you have, what do you again, what kind of supplements do you take? So stress, what type of work do you do? Where stress can affect your life. So all of these lifestyle uh, factors are so important in addressing the well-being of the patient in order to heal the body and address a disease condition.
Even the emotional and spiritual wellness.
Absolutely, and that I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Louise, because that is not it was the last to be mentioned, but not the least. It's so important. I've said this in the past, and I mean it with all my heart, that our well-being is not just our physical body. It is our mental, emotional, even spiritual well-being. So we address these things very, very effectively in order to help the patient to heal from the inside out.
Is there any preparation of your patients before they come to receive the stem cell treatment?
Yes. So we have, depending on the timeline that we're looking at, we have at least a month or two of of prepping. And that can include, after I get the history and after we've deduced candidacy, and after looking at blood work, I will give recommendations as to key supplements, key lifestyle changes, perhaps some dietary factors. If you're a heavy drinker, I'll have you try to abstain as much as possible because the stem cells very much can be affected by alcohol and smoking and so on. So there are key supplements, key lifestyle changes that I'll have you start prior to coming for treatment. So these are just a few of what I would have you do. And then, of course, like doing a gratitude list and getting into that frame of mind where we're looking at the glass as half full as opposed to the glass as half empty. And that puts us in this positive, more abundant, a mind frame of abundancy rather than lack. And that positivity is super, super important in healing our body because we have to remember our thoughts are the language of our brain and our feelings are the language of our body. So when we feel stress, it is manifested in our body. Our thoughts are manifested. Our brain manifests our thoughts. So it's really important that these are in sync.
So the set of mind is important, right, doctor?
Absolutely. Super, super important.
Okay. Doctor, what is the protocol? Can you give us like an example of a time frame, the protocol before the patient comes to Guatemala?
Yes. So we look at about a 1 to 2 month period where the patient will start preparing at home. And again, depending on the timeline that the patient has, because most of our patients come from out of town, they come from North America, we have this timeline, which is typically 1 to 2 months to prepare, to travel, and so on and so forth, and take time off of work. And that gives us the perfect amount of time to start prepping. There are some patients, of course, that need or want the treatment sooner rather than later. So we start as quickly as possible for this prep that I mentioned previously. And then once the patient arrives, we really only need the patient, again, depending on the treatment, only 7 to 10 days in Guatemala. And then the treatment, the post-treatment will continue on for a couple more months. So we're looking at a total from the time that they talk to us and they start the prepping before they arrive, we can look at anywhere between 3 to 4 months for the whole treatment that takes place.
And what does it entail? Do you recommend some treatments that they do before they come to Guatemala?
Well, usually, if there are certain conditions that need to be addressed before they come, I might have them do a chelation therapy. I might have them do antiviral therapy because there are some viruses that can affect the stem cells. So that we will have them do after I look at blood work, and those are very uh, rare cases where we might have them do that. And then the dietary changes, those key supplements, and then once they do arrive in Guatemala, we have a 4-day period right before the stem cell harvesting, isolation, and deployment, where we will begin a total detox program. And that will entail a specialized and personalized intravenous infusion of nutrients, glutathione, antioxidants, minerals, trace minerals, B vitamins, vitamin C, a very potent IV, along with suppositories that are natural and organic suppositories that contain caffeine as well as glutathione and other factors that work with the IV for the internal portal circulation for liver detoxification, as well as B vitamin shots. That's number one. That's part of our total detox program. We will also implement an age-appropriate growth hormone therapy or any type of hormone that we may find suitable for that patient. And again, that helps the stem cells and that helps the body. We're kind of taking the body back in time in a way and rejuvenating the body and creating this internal milieu to create the best environment for the stem cells to do their best work. And we have to remember that growth hormone, every decade of our life after the age of 30, growth hormone is reduced by almost 20%, 18 to 20% every decade of our life after the age of 30. So it's very important to be able to supplement or replace that growth hormone, at least for that short amount of time, for the stem cells to just do their best possible work. So we will do that. Number 3, we will also do an exercise with oxygen therapy or hyperbaric oxygen therapy, some sort of oxygen therapy. Again, oxygen is life-giving. We need oxygen to survive, every single cell in our body. So It's about providing sufficient oxygen to promote an environment of healing. Okay, so we will do that usually in the form of exercise with oxygen therapy, which is 20 minutes on a stationary bike at a moderate pace, as opposed to a hyperbaric chamber, which is 90 minutes in a closed vessel, which most patients do not opt for. And so we use the exercise with oxygen therapy, which is just 20 minutes. And what creates that hyperbaric effect with the exercise with oxygen, with 100% oxygen mask, is the pumping of the heart. So that's why we have that moderate level of cardiovascular exercise, and very sustainable for a patient. So that's number 3. Then we have the stem cell enhancement formula, which is a personalized blend of herbs and minerals that help the body, as well as the mitosis process of the stem cells, the regeneration and the renewal process of the stem cells, to keep the stem cells going. So the oxygen therapy, the growth hormone therapy, and the stem cell enhancement formula is that's a prolonged. We send our patient home with that. The oxygen they do at home if it's feasible for them. But the growth hormone, as well as the stem cell enhancement formula, we give them enough to last them up to 3 months. Okay, and of course the psychological, emotional, and even spiritual work that we have our patients do. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that takes the form of gratitude lists and journaling and writing about their feelings more than their thoughts even. The thoughts will come out, but writing about the feelings and that work of catharsis and getting it out and feeling cleansed. For some patients, I have them listen to certain frequencies that work with the body for healing, as well as other types of meditations and so on and so forth. So depending on whether the patient's open to it, I very much condone it. I think it's very important. And so that in as a whole creates an environment internally, externally, down to the cellular level of healing. So it's very important to us for our patients to be able to take part in every aspect of that part of healing.
So, doctor, as far maybe I forgot to ask you this, but as far as the stem cell treatment, is there any stem cells that we don't use? I think it's important that people know that there is certain type of stem cells that we don't use.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that, because we have that question a lot. Let me quickly start with what we do use and what we don't use. So absolutely, we do not use embryonic stem cells, which are controversial and still not deemed safe, okay, in terms of cancers and tumors and uncontrolled growths. We also do not use fetal cells for the same reason. We do use autologous bone marrow derived stem cells, as well as adipose-derived stem cells. We do use endometrial-derived stem cells, which are from a young, healthy uterus, as well as umbilical cord cells. So we may use a combination of these cells for the best treatment. And depending on, again, what we're looking to treat, we will do that combination accordingly.
And part of this comprehensive approach and comprehensive treatment of itself, can you give us an example of where will the patients will be staying at?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking that, Luis, because it's really important that as part of our treatment package, including this comprehensive approach with the treatment itself, we also provide accommodation, so 7 to 10 days of accommodation, depending on what's required, in a very, very comfortable 2-bedroom Airbnb type of facility, as well as a personal driver to take them to and from airport and appointments and so on and so forth. So for the time that they're with us, we provide those the accommodations and a driver. And again, that's all included in the treatment package.
So that's why we say it's a very comprehensive approach. Doctor, what will be the follow-up of these patients after they leave Guatemala?
Yes, that is very, very, again, dear and close to our heart in order to, we do our follow ups by checking in with them every couple of weeks. At first, it's more often, then it becomes maybe every couple of weeks or every month, where we check in, we follow the progress of our patients, we hold them accountable, make sure that they are maintaining a certain degree of. Uh, of a certain lifestyle that we might want them to continue with for a while, and yes, just tracking their progress and always bettering our processes based on the outcomes.
So you also help to change our way of life, right, doctor?
That's right. Absolutely.
Doctor, I don't know if you want to add anything else to this podcast, maybe something I missed.
Wow, I think we have covered a lot of ground. That perhaps we can mention that Guatemala is a destination
Very
country.
important, yeah.
Very important. It is. It is a beautiful country with a lot of natural beauty, including active volcanoes and coffee farms and ruins. Antigua being a World Heritage Site under UNESCO.
It's only 1 hour away from the city.
Just 1 hour away. We have Tikal, we have Mirador. We have so many beautiful landmarks that is worth mentioning for a vacation, a destination spot for a medical treatment.
Okay, doctor, that was very well explained. In case you want to contact Dr. Figueredo, by the end of this podcast, you will find all the information how to contact her. And please follow us in all the social media. Thank you, doctor. I appreciate your time, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Louise. You as well.
Thank you for listening. In case you have any questions, please visit our website, stemcellhealinginstitute.com. Or you may send us an email to info@stemcellhealinginstitute.com. If you want to contact us from North America, you may dial +1 209 690 7836. If you want to send us a message through WhatsApp, please add us at +502 4220 7297. And this is how you find us on our social media. On Facebook, Stem Cell Healing Institute. On Instagram, Stem Cell HI. On Spotify, Stem Cell Healing Institute. On YouTube, Stem Cell Healing Institute. We hope to hear from you. Thank you.